This podcast has been created by volunteers from the Museum of Norwich, in collaboration with the Norfolk Record Office in its role as the East of England hub for the Unlocking Our Sound Heritage project. This is a national endeavour which is digitally preserving rare and at-risk sound archives and encouraging their use. Unlocking Our Sound Heritage is led by the British Library and made possible with thanks to the National Lottery Heritage Fund. This podcast has been created using sound recordings from the Norfolk Record Office's permanent collection, which has been digitised and catalogued by the Unlocking Our Sound Heritage project. Rationing was introduced by the government in January 1940, so just a few months after the war had started. It was overseen by the Ministry of Food, and the idea was that everyone got their fair share of essentials in times of a national shortage. Before the war, Britain had imported a large amount of food, but this went down drastically when the war started. Right at the beginning of the war, everyone was registered by the government, and subsequently sent a ration book and ID card. Everyone got a ration book. There were different colours and allowances depending on whether you were an adult, or a child, a pregnant or nursing mother, or a very young child.
I had 3 ration books in the beginning. I had mine, and you had green ones for children under 2. Because I remember when I was going to have John, I had him in 1944. I remember when I was going to have him, I thought, well, I'm going to straight away to get the ration book, because if any bananas came into the country, you could have them for children. And they were, I think it was up to 2 or something like that. Well, I could share that with my other 2 children, couldn't I? And make a meal out of bread and butter and a banana for a whole family of us.
Housewives had to register their ration books with their grocer or greengrocer, or butcher, who would stamp the books. You could then only buy from the shops where you were registered. The ration books contained the coupons for your allowance, which you gave to the shops when you paid for your goods. There was no guarantee that the rationed items were available. You might often get to the front of the queue and find that what you wanted had run out, as there were many shortages. Sugar, butter, bacon were among the initial items to be rationed, with eggs, milk, meat and cheese added on at a later time. Tinned and dried foods were also rationed. The number of points allocated to food types changed according to supply and demand. Fruit and fresh vegetables were not rationed, but were often in short supply, particularly imported ones. People in rural areas and those with a garden were able to grow their own food, and the government encouraged people to use their gardens and allotments in a scheme which became known as Dig for Victory. A typical ration for an adult person for the week would include a couple of ounces of tea, 1 egg, 4 ounces of bacon, and 2 ounces of cheese.
Never mind about buying meat. I couldn't afford to buy meat. Couldn't buy all my butter. But anyway, somebody would always have your ration book. I know one of the school teachers, well, as my kiddies got older, used to say certain families would be very popular with her, and those kids couldn't do nothing wrong. And that would ask your mother if she's got any spare points. No, points were for jam and odd things that came along. Each one was so many points. Of course they were looked after, and people would buy them from you. Of course they would.
Children were allowed free school meals if their father was a soldier, and some people were able to eat at work. Bread was not rationed in the war, but added after the war. Not only food items were rationed, but also petrol, electricity, soap and clothing.
There's a chap who used to come around, a nice old fella. His name was Knights. And I don't know what, I think I had some sheets off him or something when I was going to have the babies. I couldn't afford to buy them. I mean, not pay outright, that got to be never, which I hate anyhow. But I know he took some books of coupons of mine and let me go and come. There used to be Curls, wholesale clothiers, and gave me a chit to come down here and get myself a new coat. I didn't have to pay for it. I paid for it with my coupons.
Clothing coupons. Every person was allocated points, each item of clothing given a point value depending on how much material and labour went into making it. The coupon allowance fluctuated. Rationing continued until 1954. This information has been gathered using sources from the Imperial War Museum website. We hope you've enjoyed listening to this podcast. The clips you've heard are from the Patricia Daniels collection. The catalogue to this particular archive is available online via the Norfolk Record Office's website. If you would like to listen to these or similar recordings, you can do so in the Norfolk Record Office's public search room. However, we would be grateful if you could give us a couple of days advance notice of your visit. The Norfolk Record Office has attempted to contact contributors to the archive recordings or their next of kin. As you may expect after 40 years, this is not always possible. If you are related to any of the interviewees, the Norfolk Record Office would love to hear from you.